Hello, welcome to our first Q&A here. I really do appreciate everyone's patience as I put this together for the first time. This is still kind of new to me. Also, please bear with me. I'm used to being behind the camera, not in front of it, so this is all a new experience. But I do appreciate everyone's patience. I appreciate those people who've already contributed to this project, and I really appreciate everyone who asked questions so that we can maybe bring some light to what this project is all about and what we're trying to do here. For those who don't actually know me yet, if this is your first experience with me as a person, as a photographer, my name is Laura, and the project that I'm working on is called 1000 Holy Places, and it's mainly just, it's a photography project, but it's a little bit more than that, and we're going to get into that a little bit here. So the main question that I think a lot of people had was, what is it? Like, what are you trying to do? What's the goal? How did you come up with this? What was the inspiration for it? Basically, I believe in God and I believe in art. And I think when those two combine, you have something like perfection. It's hard to find good uplifting things in the world today. And I feel like the artistry and the skill and craftsmanship that are put into things in honor of a deity, of whatever that deity may be, whether you're Christian or Buddhist or Jewish or Muslim, any of these things, the art and architecture that people create towards that end, I find really, really inspiring. And what I've had a problem with lately, I mean, I've always loved cathedrals. I've loved the Mormon temples. I recently started really falling in love with Buddhist Watts. I think they're really amazing. So this has been something that I've looked into for a while, but I started to notice that a lot of these places are closing up shop or disappearing. In fact, one of the places I'd wanted to visit, I recently found out got torn down. It was destroyed. And that just kind of hurt. So basically what this amounted to is not just any random photography project. For me, it became more of a mission. Find these places, document these places, draw them into the light. Let's shed some joy, some beauty, and some happiness in the world. Let's remember that there are good things, that there are beautiful things. And for religious people like me, that God is still out there. You know, I would love to draw more attention to that aspect of life and remind people that he's there through his churches and his art and all of this. It's just, for me, it became an inspiring thing. I had always wanted to serve a mission for my church. If anyone out there is a Latter-day Saint, you know that many youth serve a mission, and I did not get to do that. But the more and more I looked at where my life was going and what I was doing with things, the more I realized you don't have to go on a specific 2-year mission, or for women it's always 18 months. You don't have to do that in order to serve and to spread the word and to spread light and to remind people that God is out there. So for me, this is actually not just a photography project, it's actually a mission. This is how I want to spread the word of God and remind people that he's out there. And in the meantime, hopefully capture some places that deserve to be remembered, deserve to be documented, which may or may not be around for very, very long. Now, as far as how the project came about, I mean, I'd wanted to do a project about churches for years. As a matter of fact, my original plan was to do cathedrals in America, because we have some surprisingly amazing cathedrals in the US that most people don't think about. You think about a cathedral and you go, well, Notre Dame in Paris, and Milk Abbey in Austria, or the Stephens Dome, which is in Vienna specifically. You think of those things. Maybe you turn your mind to the National Cathedral in DC, because everyone does kind of know about that, but we have a lot. And so that was the original project, but then it became more than that. As I worked through this more and more and more, I just felt that that was not enough. It was only one aspect of this project, and I was trying to figure out what else to do with it. And I happened to glance at a book that I have. People probably know it, the 1000 Places to See Before You Die by Patricia Schultz. I have that book, and I was like, oh, what about 1000 holy places to see before you die? And the project was born. And so I've been slowly trying to collect these holy places and just, again, draw attention to them, remind people that they're there, and remind people that they have value. So that's what this project is. It's a mission. It's a photography quest, I guess. I like the word quest. It's a lot of things all together, but it is my way of giving back to a God that I believe blessed me with photographic talents. So Melanie asks, when choosing a location, do you look for location, history, or aesthetics? Personally, I look at aesthetics first, and then history secondarily. I don't particularly care about the location. The only time that's ever going to worry me at all is if I find someplace in a location that's maybe not the best safety-wise to go into, and that might deter me from going to a particular place. But the location is far less important to me. Aesthetics, I absolutely look at the beauty of a place, at what the architecture says, and then I do look at the history. I think that there are plenty of places that have great historical significance, and that is important to me as well. But for me, first and foremost, aesthetics. What does it look like? How does it move me artistically? As an artist, that just kind of makes more sense to me. Peyton asks, do you have a list of the 1,000 you would like to see, or are you coming up with them as you go? And also, how many have you shot so far? I actually do have a master list. I have a Google Doc that I continuously add to whenever I discover something new. It's about 25 pages long right now, and I believe the list is around 1,200 at this point, so eventually it's going to have to be narrowed down some, but I also do sometimes add as I go. I'm not going to discount something just because it's not on my list. Twice this year, in fact, I added something to the list because I happened to come across it. Once I was in Charleston, and my husband actually pointed out, is that cathedral that's on your list? I said, no, I have no idea what that is. He says, we'll go visit it. And it was a beautiful cathedral, had stunning stained glass windows, and I'd never heard of it. So I will do that. Also, I was in St. Augustine with my sister just a couple months ago, and we were aiming for specific cathedrals that were on my list, and then right across the street from one of them was a completely different one. And again, really lovely inside, charming little church. Was very happy that I stopped by, and so I ended up adding something to my list. As of right now, I believe I've seen approximately 80 of these churches, so I'm close to 10% done with this project, but only 10%. Sarah asks, what is your favorite style? Baroque. Baroque, Rococo, that's my favorite style, bar none. I think there's a lot of beautiful styles, though. I do love Gothic, especially high Gothic. There's something about that, particularly in a cathedral. But Baroque just kind of draws me. I guess I like eye candy. You know, maybe it's a woman thing. I think I know more women who like Baroque and Rococo styles, and then more men tend to like Gothic, but that's just a generalization. My dad and I are always battling it out about which is better, Baroque or Gothic. It's totally Baroque. Okay, so, and then Heidi asks, is this all architectural? Mainly, yes. I understand that a lot of people are more, their holy places are more outdoors, but in this particular instance, it is more architectural in nature. This is about what mankind has done in order to honor their God, less than just the nature that God has granted us. That being said, there are some places I think would be or should be part of the project. For example, something like Stonehenge. Actually, there's a different one than Stonehenge that I think is even more beautiful. A couple of stone circles, and I'm considering putting those into the list, or something like Machu Picchu, which have become far more landscape in nature, I think, than architectural anymore, because they're mostly ruins. But mainly it's going to be architectural. I think there's going to be a few that are not. And I understand the nature thing as well. I'm a huge fan of nature, and I do believe that this earth is its own temple, if you will, and meant to be for our worship. I am cognizant of that. But this project is not really about that. That would be something separate that I would include in maybe my landscapes. Jenny asks, what is your favorite cathedral so far? Is that a mean question? It's kind of a mean question. No, it's really hard to pick one favorite. Yeah, Jenny, that's a really tough question. I don't know that I can specifically answer that. Most of the time I'll end up having a favorite in a general area. Um, some of my personal favorites are, I love Milk Abbey and Klosterneuburg Abbey. They're both just outside of Vienna. In Vienna, my favorites are the Peterskirche and the Karlskirche. They're beautiful Baroque churches. Again, it's going to be Baroque. There's something magical about Notre Dame. I really do love Notre Dame, and I'm very, very glad that I had the chance to visit that particular cathedral. I've got stories about that cathedral that patrons will learn along the way. And that is something that I also want to include as far as this project is concerned, is there's stories behind a lot of these that become personal. A lot of these cathedrals, as I've been there capturing them, really cool things have happened for me personally, and I think that says something too. So, and I would also love to invite anyone who has a story about a cathedral that touched them. That can be part of this. This is a personal project. It is a personal endeavor, and should belong to the people who are interested in it. So that's just, for me, it's less about a favorite specific one cathedral than it is about just the experience as a whole. James and Jennifer ask, will there be any local places to tour with you? That's actually an interesting concept that I hadn't really thought about before, but because this is something I want to do as a community, because I want to involve other people in this, I actually like that idea. I would love to invite people as I'm touring to a different place, come visit these places with me, and then I can get to know you and you can get to know the project and be a part of it. So yes, I think that might be something that I start to do is, hey, let's meet at some of these places and enjoy the experience together. So I currently live in Orlando, and I might actually be doing something like a church meetup somewhere where we can actually look at some of these places as a group and see how we feel about that. So that's something to consider, actually. Jesse asks, what are you doing with the finished pictures? Are you creating a book? What's the final product? I get that question a lot, actually, and originally I hadn't really decided on a specific thing, but more and more I feel like a book should be part of what this ends up being. There should be a book, some sort of physical form of what we did. In the meantime, I am going to be doing prints. That's going to be part of how we do some of the funding for this, is we're going to do limited edition prints. One of our other patrons also suggested, what about wallpapers, that sort of thing. So that's also something we're going to be doing here in the near future, is starting to come out with some things that our patrons can actually enjoy in more of a physical form. And so please just kind of keep an eye out for that. Watch for those to become available. Our patrons are always going to have first crack at them, especially the limited editions, but we're going to start putting out some wallpapers here in the near future as well. We're going to consider some stuff around the holidays for gift ideas and that sort of thing. So there's going to be physical products, and eventually, once this is able to get more completed, we're going to do a book of some kind, and we'll kind of discuss that as it gets closer. Then our final question, Caitlin asks, what would this ideally look like, and how many would you need to take in a year? Ideally, this would be, I want to be able to dedicate my time to this project for a while. If I'm looking at it from an idealistic perspective, 2 to 3 years, and that's all I'm doing, is just capturing these places, learning about them, delving deep into their histories, talking with the people that run them, discussing the places themselves. We've had a chance to do a little bit of that with a couple of the places that I've been to, where we were able to talk with the preachers or ministers of that particular church and talk to them about their church, and they love to do that, and it's really been very fulfilling. So what it would look like ideally would be 2 to 3 years where I was just able to focus on nothing but this. Given that sort of time frame, I'd be looking at about 300 to 400 a year, doing those consistently. Right now, that has obviously been difficult. You're tied down to a particular place and a job, and it gets hard to go out for even sometimes a week at a time, and so it's been little bits here and there. So far this year, I think I've captured 13 or 14, but given that this is 1,000, that would take years to finish, and I don't think I have that time, is the reality. I think that where the world is going right now, and again, the way these things are closing right, left, and center, I don't think that I have 10, 20, 15 years. I don't have the rest of my life to do this. I have a limited time. I have a shorter, I think increasingly smaller window. And so for me, ideally, it would be 300 to 400 a year for 2 to 3 years, and more if I can get there, more if I can do it. You know, I am. It's going to be hard work. I'm not going to lie. I've actually spoken with a colleague of mine. We chat from time to time about this project, and he's done something similar, and it's hard. It is hard to do. You need to dedicate a great deal of time to it. It's not easy. There's a lot of resources that you need, and that's what we're trying to do here. We're just trying to develop the contacts and get the resources that we need to put this mission out there and to get this done and going. Well, I really appreciate your time. Again, thank you so much for the questions that were asked. We actually hope to do this more than once. I would love to get more feedback. I would love to hear more questions from people, and we can do another Q&A. From here on out, they will be patron-only Q&As. And on that note, please remember that you can actually be a patron of this project for only $1 a month. That's really not a lot. We have a variety of different tiers that you can be a part of, an ever-increasing amount of community, I feel, and so we've got several patrons only posts up right now, but $1 a month gets you involved in this project in even the littlest way, and everything helps. So we do appreciate it. Please consider contributing. Thank you so much again. You guys have a fabulous day.